So, in the latest in our series of thought leadership interviews with the team at LTS, I'm joined today by somebody who actually is probably pivotal to most things around LTS these days. We all recognise that patient safety, we all recognise that efficacy and patient acceptance are the bywords of drug delivery. But actually, there's another one now, isn't there? And that's around sustainability. So today, I'm delighted to be joined by the head of sustainability at LTS. Slava, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Paul.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Before we dive into the sort of structure of the discussion today, perhaps you can just tell people who don't know you a little bit about your career to date.
Yeah, sure. So I have a background of business administration and work and organizational psychology, which is a huge help and a huge benefit if you work with people, if you work with teams and organizations. And after that, I joined a consultancy working primarily on project management. And after that, joined a huge German pharmaceutical company, being there in different roles from training management, innovation management, and in the end sustainability, and led sustainability for the big R&D department before I joined LTS as head of sustainability.
Okay, so you know your stuff.
I hope so, yes.
So now, as the head of sustainability, what's your ambition for your role there, and actually for the wider LTS business?
Well, of course, we want to talk about compliance, right? But compliance is something we have to do. It's a must. It's not an ambition. So we want to be compliant, and in addition, benefits the business. So we want to benefit the business by contributing to the bottom line. If we talk, for example, about circularity and waste management, and potentially realizing savings and cutting costs, right? So what we want to do is also to take a look on the top line and to understand how sustainability can contribute to business growth, and how sustainability can be a differentiator in customers' purchasing decisions. And with bringing sustainable products, we can basically do both. We can contribute to cost savings if we implement sustainability in our waste management, but also produce sustainable products, and we would also the products being considered as sustainable and being also certified as those.
Okay, so the ambition now, I guess, is to go from being compliant and ticking boxes into actually creating some meaningful benefit through sustainability.
Right.
Okay. All right. So to that point, then, what are the sort of key priorities that you've set out in the next period?
Well, first of all, sustainability at LTS didn't start in 2024, right? So there have been a great basis and amazing achievements. For this year, also having a look on the variety of regulations which came. We want to, first of all, to implement the German Supply Chain Act as a compliance matter, right? Second topic is the European Sustainability Directive with regards to reporting, the CSRD. Yeah, we want to issue the first LTS sustainability report according to CSRD, and we have made very significant progress there. But I think most important for the organization is to be impactful with regard to decarbonization. 2 years ago, LTS committed to join SBTi in order to establish significant reduction targets for CO2. And this year we calculated all of our 3 scopes, scope 1, 2, and 3, and we are currently developing reduction targets in order to get them validated by SBTi at the end of the year.
Okay, all right, super. I guess the next question kind of takes us back to your psychology background. Always change is sometimes challenging, and the implementation of new initiatives can be challenging, both from a both from a practical perspective, but also from a cultural perspective. What are the challenges, if any, have you faced there?
Well, I think you mentioned a couple of important buzzwords already. Change management is always complicated. If you talk to people, if you want to change something in the organization, you definitely have this kind of change curve where you might also see a certain pushback from the organization, which is very natural. I don't think that it's a specific topic for LTS and sustainability. I would actually consider that on the other end of the scale, sustainability makes a lot of sense for LTS, and the organization and the leaders are very supportive if it comes to sustainability and implementing this kind of concepts. What we have seen at LTS over the last couple of years is a very dynamic growth, which is great, right? Yeah. But it also puts us in a situation where we have new entities, new sites, new organizations around the globe, which are not always connected. And here comes a certain challenge with sustainability. Sustainability relies on data if it comes to decarbonization, if it comes to reporting. And therefore, we need this kind of data availability, this kind of connections. So implementing these processes is definitely a change. And here we rely on people who are very professional and so who are currently working and providing this kind of data and do a lot of efforts in order to be compliant.
So I guess on that point where there has been sort of huge growth in the business, that aggregation of tools and of standards and one way of working, I guess, is important. To deliver on those objectives, but also actually to measure. Right, so we're not just promising, we're doing. How we're able to measure the achievement of those initiatives. How's that manifested itself?
Well, first of all, we need to consider two perspectives: the internal and the external perspective. So we internally are very clear on the KPIs which we need, and those KPIs and data are collected and reported in a very clear manner, right? But if we take a look outside, sustainability is a pretty new topic, right? If you compare that with other areas of business, sustainability kind of mushroomed over the last decades, which is great because it is important overall. And with that, we have a lot of concepts, we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of different KPIs. And that brings us sometimes in a situation where we try to compare apples and oranges just because we are using different standards, we are using different concepts and tools, and therefore we will see a certain aggregation, a certain consolidation in the market, in the business area, in order to ensure that we're able to apply best practices, that we're able to learn from each other, that we're able to share the data and use the data and be able to compare these kinds of data, and also be lean and also save time, energy, and efforts on the organizational level.
Okay, so not much to try and achieve then. But you have achieved already, you know, as you've said yourself, sustainability at LTS didn't start in 2024. And I would actually argue that by definition, the devices are more sustainable than other alternative platforms. But there have been some achievements. What would they be?
Let me mention our SBTi commitment first. So our SBTi commitment goes back to 2023, where we committed to SBTi and joining SBTi and implementing reduction targets. So this year we calculated the scope 3, and the year before data for scope 1 and 2 were already available at the organization, which is already great. And on that amazing basis, the calculation of scope 3 already put us in a position to be able to develop SBTi targets and also to provide a roadmap for decarbonization, to understand how we can avoid using fossil energy sources, how can we move to green energy, how can we avoid CO2 emissions. And this kind of roadmap, which is currently in development, in discussion, will be implemented over the upcoming years to ensure that we're able to respond and to implement our CO2 ambitions, to implement our CO2 reduction targets.
Okay. Big ambitions, big plans, well on the way. But as we've talked about a couple of times now, the change associated with this is sometimes a little difficult, and it does rely on effective communication between everybody in the organization and everybody becoming an advocate and an ambassador for this. I've seen your plan, which any marketeer would be proud of from a communications perspective. Tell us a little more about your philosophy around effective communication and that cultural development.
From my perspective, sustainability communications, as any other communications, needs to be strategic, right? And therefore we collaborated with our marketing and communications department in order to establish a strategic communication plan for sustainability. And that means, first of all, we understood who are our stakeholders internally and externally, and what kind of needs they have in order to be involved, in order to be informed. And based on this understanding, we developed channels, we developed messages, we developed a calendar in order to be able to understand by when and what kind of channel we need to share the news, to include people, to inform people. And this is exactly what we do right now. So basically implementing the plan which we developed in the first couple of months in 2024.
Wonderful. Slava, fascinating. Great to speak to you. I think it's reassuring for everybody that we're now seeing sustainability as more than compliance and actually around how it can deliver to the bottom line of the business. So thank you for that. If anybody else would like to know more about what Slava is up to and the sustainability initiatives, his email will be at the end of this video. But for now, Slava, thank you and good to see you.
Thank you, Paul.